Hi everyone, Dakota again from becomingaprogrammer.com. In the last video, we got the form for the comments in here and some data from the Hacker News API. Showed you these IDs that we're going to use to display our comments. So before we are able to do that, we actually need to create a custom component to display those comments. So first let's create some folders here. Make their JS app components. And then within that folder, I'm going to make the story comment component. And I can open that file up. And we're actually going to need here to add a code snippet. We don't have one for the John Papa style guide, but I just tried to follow it as closely as I could. And I've created that, and I will put this this command. This command is in the blog post. You can see it here. You just select this command, and then what it's going to do is it's going to copy this GitHub gist, and it's going to put it in your clipboard. Oh, it's doing that thing again. Yeah, it's put this onto 2 lines. So let's see if I can get this. Maybe if I copy it this way. Oop. Okay, it's not liking that. What I'm gonna do. Yeah, it's still not liking that. What I'm gonna do is just go to the gist, and then I will in the browser, and this link will be available. Okay, so this is the Angular component snippet. So we're gonna select all of this, and then we're gonna open up. We're gonna go to code, user snippets, and then type in JS and hit return. And then here, this is where this snippet's gonna go. So this is probably not gonna be in yours, in which case you would paste, and make sure you put a comma so there's no red squigglies or anything. And then save this file. And now refresh by doing Command R. I don't know where that is in the menu, but it's Command R. And now that you've got that snippet working, you will be able to use it. So now that we have StoryComment open, let's just start typing. There we go, and G1comp, and then here is the snippet. So we're going to call it StoryComment, and then we have bindings, and we want to have a binding on ID, so we get the ID of the comment, and then this is going to be the template. We'll make it StoryComment, and then the controller has VM. That's what we want, and then within the controller, we are going to want to use the TopStoriesService. I don't know why this doesn't have that minification safe version of it, so I'm gonna I'll edit this snippet so that when you do it, it will have that in there. So just paste the link that you find in the show notes, and then you will have the right snippet, because I'll show you what's about to change. So it's got to be TopStoriesService, and then what was missing here was this StoryComment controller dot inject, and then that equals an array with TopStoriesService in it. So that needs to be there, and that'll be in there in the snippet, and you'll just have to type that once and it'll go in. And then this is the last part of the snippet. This has to be app for sure, and then the component name, make sure you camel case it, StoryComment. So That's really important because that's what's gonna, if you don't camel case this, it won't work. So let's just go through this thing. Let's review this here. The bindings property, the ID is set to equals, which that creates two-way binding on the ID property between the controller and the view. Now we can access the value of the ID passed to the element within this StoryCommentController. And then within Angular components, a bind to controller is automatically set to true, which is why that works. And when we set the template URL property, we're specifying the path from the root of the project to the template being used for this component. And then controller as is used by default, but it defaults to $CTRL. So if you want it to be VM, you have to specify that. And then we've injected the TopStoriesService because we're going to be using it from the Hacker News API. And then again, I wanted to reiterate this really has to be in camel case, which is what it's going to, this story comment is going to turn into something like this in the view, story comment. And if you don't do camel case, then that won't work. So just be really careful with that. Okay, so now we got the bones of the component in place. We can add the code that we'll need to fetch the comment data from the Hacker News API. And we're going to use the getStory function to do that. And we're going to pass the ID property that we created in the bindings here. And then we'll set, first we need to create a view model variable here. And then we'll call the getStory method. And we'll pass in vm.id, which is what we got from the binding. And then in the promise here, a function of the response, and then I'm going to set vm.comment equal to the responding data. And then before we check this out in the browser, we need to add the HTML template that this is going to use. So we need to add that StoryComment.html. So we could do that and then open it up, and let's just drop in vm.comment, which we defined in the previous step. Right here is the responding data. And now that we have all the pieces of the component defined, we still have to create one so we can see what it would look like. So going back in here, you can see these IDs. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in 15 as an example here. So we'll just do the story comment, and then we're going to pass in ID 15. So I also want to just make this a little cleaner. So I want to make an H3 comments. And then we could do a story comment, and then we'll pass an ID of 15. And now when we save this and reload the page, open up the console, no errors. Okay, I know I spelled that wrong. Comments, there we go. Story comment, story comment. Usually there's a pesky misspelling or an unsaved something somewhere. Let's see. Reload again. Not getting any errors, which is strange. Okay, let me make sure. I'm going to go through my notes and make sure that I'm not missing something here. Got the TopStoriesService injected. This is spelled properly. Got vm.comment. StoryComment, vm.comment, that's saved. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause and see what's going on, and I'll be back.